The next lifestyle factor is physical activity. Physical activity is known as the movement of the body at different intensities. It is important that children and adults perform some sort of activity per day, as this helps your heart stay strong and healthy, and it also reduces the risk of other diseases. It is recommended by the NHS that adults should perform at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per week, or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity activities. Moderate activity makes your heart rate raise and intensifies your breathing. Examples of this are brisk walking, sports such as badminton and tennis, usually doubles, you aren't having to work as hard, or even everyday activities such as walking the dog or pushing a lawnmower. Vigorous activity is a very intense period of exercise which involves running, lap swimming, riding a bike, or team games such as hockey and football. It is recommended that you do at least one of these activity levels for the recommended time per week, so you will stay healthy and fit. This means that you don't have to do both of these intensities. The set times for each allow for the same bodily improvements over time. For teenagers, it is recommended by the NHS that they should aim for 60 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per week, which similarly to adults includes walking or light jogging, as long as it raises your heart rate slightly. There are consequences for not doing physical activity. There are many risks and consequences if you don't reach the recommended guidelines for physical activity per week. Some of these are cardiovascular disease, osteoporosis, and obesity. Cardiovascular disease. This is a condition that affects the body's heart and blood vessels due to a build-up of fatty deposits in the body. It occurs when oxygenated blood cannot get into the heart, so the heart must work with more force to get it through the narrow clotted arteries and veins. This is caused by a lack of physical activity because fatty deposits build up when the calories that you eat aren't burnt. If you sit and don't do anything, these calories turn into fat deposits and stay in the body's blood vessels, making it hard for the heart to perform its function. Over time, as more calories are consumed and not burnt, the heart only becomes under more force and pressure, which means you're at higher risk of a heart attack and therefore the possible reason of death. Osteoporosis. This is a condition that weakens the bones in the body, which makes them break more easily as they become very fragile. This can be caused by the lack of exercise because doing impact sports make your bones stronger due to them making new bone tissue, and if you don't do exercise, none of the bone will regenerate, making them weaker because the bone is older. This condition can make bones more fragile if you are doing sports such as running and you haven't for a long time. However, the NHS states that it can get so bad that even when you cough you can risk breaking a rib. This condition is very dangerous because it means your bones cannot support the weight of your body, which means that when you do decide to do an activity, if you want to start getting fit after you haven't for a long time, you could be at higher risk of injuring yourself. Overall, not exercising will lead you to a sedentary lifestyle due to the fact that you'll be unhealthy, possibly overweight, and your muscles and bones won't be able to support your body like it should. A sedentary lifestyle is caused by the lack of activity. However, this isn't just not doing sport. Even not walking to work and getting the bus instead could all lead to you having a sedentary lifestyle in the end. Leading this sort of lifestyle all adds up to you possibly becoming overweight and obese and getting diseases such as osteoporosis and heart conditions. As well as consequences of not doing physical activity, there's consequences of doing too much exercise as well. One of this is even though exercise is seen to be something that's good for you, it can have a few problems if you do too much. The first issue is injury. If you quickly start to do lots of activity with no rest periods, you risk pulling muscles and tearing them, which makes you injured. This happens because your body is not used to the intensity of work, therefore making it easier for you to become injured like this. Over time, it will get easier and you won't be injured as often. This is because your muscles are stronger and more resistant to fatigue. However, doing fierce exercise can lead to the development of arthritis later on, as constant injuries still weaken certain areas of the body. Another issue is exhaustion. This occurs if you do too much exercise, similarly to becoming injured. If you work constantly with no rest, you will become tired and less likely to take part in even the simplest everyday tasks, as you just won't have the motivation. This will make you less likely to exercise and lead you to a sedentary lifestyle if you constantly feel exhausted and unmotivated. So why do people exercise? Some people just choose not to exercise, possibly as this has just been their normal way of life, but some people can't due to barriers in their life. One barrier is a low level of confidence. This may stop people exercising because they don't want to be seen to embarrass themselves. This may be because they're starting a new sport that they aren't very good at yet, or maybe none of their friends are doing it with them, so they don't feel as though they have any friends to be confident alongside. Another barrier to not doing sport is a lack of transport. Depending on the area, physical fitness and age of the person hoping to take part in a sport, there may be limited access. For example, if you live somewhere rural, it may be difficult to get transport into a little town which the club is being held. Furthermore, if you are younger and cannot drive, you will rely on your parents a lot more to take you places and to fund your travel, which may not be possible if they are working late and full-time at work. Next barrier to not doing activity could be limited access. This is an important one to concentrate on, because if someone isn't physically fit and relies on a wheelchair to get around, they may struggle to get themselves to places, including the grounds or where the activity is held, which could reduce their motivation to go, as it will become very difficult and tiring on top of having to do the sport. The last barrier is finances. If someone has to pay to take part in a club, it may put them off doing it because they may not have that much spare money to give every month. This would make them feel negatively about taking part in a sport, and they may get bored of trying to find a club that you don't have to pay for. And they also may not want to feel judged if they cannot afford to do it, but others can. References. End of assignment 7.1.